Hello, welcome back to another episode of Truth Seekers Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Kenny Williamson. Today, we're going to talk about a few things like we always do. Today is kind of an easy day, if you will. I've got a few little things that, in the news again, and wanted to talk about a few of them before it disappears, and thought of it. Some of it was pretty interesting. Do you remember, I did a podcast here a while back, talking about actors, thespians. Well, I forgot if it was that podcast or another one, but I talked about Mayor Mondami, who is the new mayor of New York City. And he basically ran on the platform that he is a communist, he's a socialist, he doesn't like white people, he's going to purposely tax white people, he's going to purposely take your stuff, and people, he somehow got in, right? Supposedly voted in. Well, me and you both know nobody in their right mind would vote for that, right? So he's raising taxes, doing all kinds of stuff. Now, I've already showed you that a picture of him with Bill Gates, the guy Bezos that owns Amazon, and in the same picture was, what's his face from Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein from Epstein Island. And in this picture, I think Epstein had his hand on him or near him or something. He was up to Epstein and Maxwell. But he was way younger. He was a little kid then, maybe a teenager, young teenager. So this guy's been around these same actors, pedophiles, devils, devils. He's been around those since he was a child. So now, based on the picture I saw, one could assume that him and Epstein were, like this. Meaning he's probably been over there on Epstein Island, either as a guest or as a victim, right? Since he was a little kid in the picture. So he's into this. He's either been indoctrinated into it or brainwashed into it or something. And so now he's a grown man. And so they're like, hey, you work for us. You've been to our island. You've done our stuff. You're in with it. You don't seem to mind. So we want you to play the role of a mayor. Now, we want you to play the role of a communist, socialist mayor and just come right out and say that you hate people and you're going to take their belongings. You're going to tax them to oblivion. And don't worry about the votes because we're counting the votes, right? So it doesn't matter if you get 0 votes. It's going to say that you won. Because we want you as this person, this talking head in this position, an actor. Okay? So the thespian mayor is back on TV again because the city is going to start opening city-ran grocery stores over there in New York. And what they're doing is they're promoting this as, well, see, number one, they don't want capitalism. They hate it. So they hate the fact that you could have a Walmart, a Kroger's, IGA, and one of them could lower the price on something. So you're like, hey, this one's got cheaper bread, so I'll just go over there and get it from there. And these other two are like, oh, well, our prices are too high, so maybe we should lower the price so we can all sell bread, right? But see, they're not interested in capitalism because they're socialists. So what they want to do is here's their motto. Let's put out of business every single person, every mom and pop shop, everything like that, put them out of business. What we'll do is we'll open our own grocery store. The city's going to run it. And what we're going to do is we're going to undercut everybody's price by 30, 40, 50%. See, pennies on the dollar. What that's going to do is it's going to make everybody come there because it's cheap. And then, like a typical Walmart's done this, I don't know how many times, they price everything really, really low. They put everybody out of business. And then when all the competition disappears, then they raise the prices way up. I mean, that's your typical deal. I mean, Walmart, I think, has done that probably millions of times. So that's what they're doing. They are opening up these new stores. They're saying it's going to be a minimum of 30% less than anybody else. So they're going to try to quote or to run everybody else out of business. Okay, but here's the funny part about the whole deal. One of the platforms that this so-called mayor, of course, we know he's an actor, but ran on, and one thing that all lunatic left and liberals hate is for anybody to have to show an ID for anything. See, they don't want you to show an ID to vote, for example, because they purposely want to rig elections. So if somebody actually counts them that's legitimate, they want to have the fakes in there. So if they're counted, they still win. Simple as that. They're liars, devils, the whole 9 yards. They always have been. So they hate IDs. And if you ask them about anything about an ID, well, IDs are hard to get, and you're restricting people, and these people basically, they allude to the fact that people are too dumb to get an ID, so that's why you have to omit it. Now, except if you want to shop in their grocery store. Now, you want to shop in Mondami's grocery store there in New York City? Well, you ain't coming in without a couple of forms of identification. You have to prove who you are and where you're from. I want you to think about that for a second. You have to prove who you are and where you live in order to shop at the grocery store. Do you see the irony in this? We don't require an ID to vote for a communist or a Muslim or a devil or a pedophile. You don't have to have anything for that because we want you to not have an ID so we can fake your vote. But if you want to come into our grocery store, you will have an ID. 2 of them, or at least you have to prove 2 different things. So they're claiming the reason for this is because people from out of town will be like, oh, wow, look how cheap this food is. And they're going to come in and buy it all up and then transport it over here to the next town and then resell it because they'll make such good profit on it. But, the thing about that is during the wintertime last year when the fake thespian mayor was elected in, obviously he's not calling the shots. He's too dumb. But somebody's telling him to do this stuff. They actually required ID in order for you to shovel snow over there in New York. And the snow was built up. I mean, they showed pictures of it. I mean, the streets were impassable. Nothing was getting clean. Nothing gets done over there because you have an actor for a mayor. That's why. And even if he is an actor or not, he's still a lunatic left, or he would never be going along with it. He's a devil, or he wouldn't be going along with it to begin with, you see, because they couldn't get me to do that. They couldn't say, hey, Kenny, go over there and purposely tax people, purposely do this, purposely ruin people's lives, run them out of business, do everything you can to make them miserable and fail because you're such a good guy. I'd say, no, I don't work that way. But no, I'm not interested. But see, this guy here, he's one of them. That's why he has pictures with Epstein. Clinton was in the same picture. Gates was in the same picture. All Epstein Island buddies. Okay. All pedophiles. All Satanists. Okay. That's who this clown runs around with too. Or did when he was a kid. I'm sure he still does. That's how he's in the position he's in. So anyway, I just thought it was pretty funny that you get socialism, and they're going to open the stores. Okay. So let me read some of this other stuff here to you. Let me find it here. Yeah, so I've got it here. So here's the caption. Socialism comes to the grocery aisle. New York City under Mondami wants government-run grocery stores. Here's the plan, okay? Taxpayers pay for the stores, the equipment, and the refrigeration. The taxpayer. Sounds logical, right? So you as the taxpayer are paying for this, and then you as the taxpayer have to go in there and pay for the food. That's really smart, isn't it? But that's how they think, and they're doing it. So taxpayers pay for the stores, the equipment, and the refrigeration. Private operators get stuck with the cleaning and security. Okay? Everything is 30% off. Fresh and local until it's not. Okay, that's the deal to get you, 30% off. Well, I'll do that. You're already paying for all the equipment by getting overtaxed. So you're paying for the thing because it's city run. So instead of giving all the money on to buy the refrigeration in the store and to pay everybody, you could keep that money and go buy it at Walmart and have money left over. You see? So this is a scam. But people are too dumb to understand that. Meanwhile, they're demanding an ID to buy this discounted food, but still no ID to vote. Wow. Okay. So, Mondami, he's come up with a list of 950,000 New Yorkers who are going to get this new tax to pay for that. Don't you wish you were over there? Don't you wish you were one of that 950,000 that's going to foot the bill on all this? Well, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? You get to foot the bill, and then you can go shop there and pay for the food, too, after you foot the bill. So, this, we know that these city-run things run all the actual people out, and eventually you'll end up with empty shelves, rotten produce, and taxpayers are going to foot the bill on all of it. And like the one deal I was reading, they were talking about putting in one of these grocery stores there, a small grocery store. They're saying it takes about like $1.7 million for this corporation to open up the store, to put it in and open it up. That's a normal corporate, we need to make money capitalism, right? Well, when Mondami stores, they're costing $30 million a piece. So, of course, because it's government. Government knows how to waste and spend your money on junk. What's happening is it'll probably really cost less, way less than even a regular one, and somebody will be driving a brand new car, and there'll be several people living in mansions. That's where the money goes. To the pedophiles and Satanists. Okay? So, according to the list here, Chicago has tried this one time. Kansas City tried it. And every single time it fails and they go out of business. They're not maintainable. The government can do nothing. The government produces nothing. You understand that, right? The government produces or does nothing of value. All they can do is take what you've produced. You go to work, they can take your money. You produce something, they can take it. Do you see? That's how they work. They don't produce anything. All they do is cause problems, bureaucracy, red tape. That's all they do. So this is just another one of those, communism deals over there. They're going to basically, hey, we're going to give you stuff for free. Everything's free. He started off with that over there. Everything's free. Of course, I just still don't think anybody voted for him. He wasn't elected. He was selected because he's a pedophile, Satanist, and a leftist and one of the gang. That's why he's there. So they're doing everything they can to, run people out of business, and this is what they want to do. So anyway, I thought that was pretty interesting. You might find that interesting. I think it is. So anyway, I'll never go to New York. I went to New York many, many, many years ago to a chocolate factory whenever a brief stint, wanted to drive an 18-wheeler for a living. And I rode up there with a guy. It was a team driver deal. I have a Class A CDL, yes. And I rode up there, I think, to the Mars factory where you picked up, or Hershey's. Maybe it was the Hershey's factory. Mars, Hershey's, something like that. It was a load of chocolate bars, M&Ms, that stuff. Picked it up like in New York, New Jersey, somewhere over there, and drove it back somewhere. I can't remember where. So I got to travel briefly all over the United States in an 18-wheeler. But I'll never go back. I don't need to go there. I don't know why anybody'd want to go there, but whatever. So, next on the list, this, to me, this next thing I'm going to talk about is ludicrous to begin with, but I'm going to show you just how ludicrous it really is. Okay? So, number one, I don't believe space is real. I think that it's fake. Okay? It's all fake. Everything's fake. They never put anybody on the moon. That's fake. They're not sending rockets to Mars. That's fake. Okay? Now, I've been saying that for quite a while now. I never did believe in the moon landing. I've always thought that was fake. And most of my family and friends thought I was borderline insane for saying that. I was a big conspiracy theorist because I never believed in the moon landing. I've had friends who went to different friend gatherings. They're like, I can't believe you don't believe that. Well, why would they do that? And they don't understand money laundering or propaganda. They don't understand any of that stuff. So when you try to tell them something like that, they're like deers in the headlight. Okay. So having said that, on my other podcasts and on when I talk about stuff like that, which, is not all the time, but it's sometimes, I say that the rockets take off and they go right into the Bermuda Triangle. They always go back into the ocean. They go up, 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 over, down, 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 and splash, splash, splash. Now, they put this stuff out to you right out in public, which I've said that before. Hollywood, Hollywood, Television. I believe that Satan, who's running the show, has to tell you what's going on. Now, he doesn't have to come right out and say, hey, I'm Satan and I'm doing this, but he shows you. That way, and you see it, and your brain acknowledges it. So in the future, when you're judged, by the way, by either God or whatever, okay, whatever happens to you, if you're saved or not, at some point, you're going to be asked about this. And you're going to say, well, I didn't know it. And they're going to say, now, wait a second. Don't you remember this, this, this? And they're going to have it written down, everything that you've watched and you've learned. So they know. So they know if you've seen it before. And so then they're going to say, you mean you didn't see this? Well, I did, but I didn't put two and two together. Oh, well, didn't you see it again? Oh, yeah, but I don't believe it. Well, didn't you hear old Kenny talk about it? Yeah, but I still don't believe it. Well, didn't you hear such and such and such and such and such? And says, yeah, I don't believe it. Okay, that means you're willingly ignorant. Now, that's not our fault that you're willingly ignorant. Okay, so now we're going to see how ignorant you really are. You see what I mean? So I've been saying since day one, rockets are going to the Bermuda Triangle. We have cartoons, old cartoons, where it talks about wizards. Okay, and we've got the one where the owl is talking to the guy and the wizard starts telling the kid that the earth is not flat, that it's really a globe. And then the owl says, quit teaching him that crazy stuff, And so the wizard gets mad and says he's gonna go to Bermuda, and he turns into a rocket and shoots and goes right back down into Bermuda. So that's what they tell you, even on the cartoons. Okay. So then you actually watch a rocket launch, and it goes up, 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 over, 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 down, down, down. But they don't want you to know that. They say, oh, well, it's going down. It's going to the other side of the Earth, on the other side of the globe, into outer space. You can clearly see it's just falling down. And what's underneath of it? The ocean. They always shoot it out to the ocean. Imagine that. Now, see, you think they might shoot that thing out over dry land since it's going around the globe anyway. But that never happens. Okay? There's a reason for that. And I've said before, I've shown pictures, and I've talked about it before, how these guys go out into that area, and they've got sonar, and they've got cameras underneath there, and there's literally pieces of these rockets laying everywhere. It's like a debris field out there in the bottom of the ocean. I had one guy say, can you prove that? I'm not the one that took the videos and claimed it. You can clearly see that it's shooting out there. And then you have people in ships out there showing you all the debris. How can you, but I guess they're lying. They're lying. Those rockets aren't really laying out there. Okay. But then, a glober is going to come along and say, well, that's just the boosters. I had a guy tell me that. He goes, oh, well, of course it fell into the water. That was just the booster. Okay. So it's funny because on this last fake mission we had called Artemis, which is basically Diana in the Bible, which is a pagan goddess. So in other words, look at us, we're going to worship the devil openly. That kind of deal. So on the fake satanic Artemis mission, they always have a couple of shots shown of this rocket going into outer space. They always cut it, right about when it gets about here, they cut and then show you a fake picture of it in outer space. It's because they can't film it, right? So it has to be fake. It has to just be a representation, artist representation, right? So that's what they do every time. And there just happens to be an airplane in the area and somebody films it out the window. Now, I would think that an airplane wouldn't be able to be anywhere near the thing. Of course, we don't know who filmed it, do we? We never find that out. But what's funny is there's a guy over there who lives in Florida. He's on TikTok, probably Facebook too, I think. His name is Aloha from Florida. That's what he goes by. He lives in Florida, right down there where they shoot this thing off. Okay? So he goes out there and he starts filming it with his camera. And it shows it go up, up, up. Now, I want you to understand this thing is going so painfully slow, it's ridiculous. And this is not just me imagining it. They have actually taken stills of this thing and measured it, how long it's taking it to each, and it's not accelerating. It's just going a nice, steady, slow, upward deal, just like what it looks like. Where you watch an amateur rocket do the same thing, it goes, psh, it's gone. It's gone so fast the human eye can't even see it. When that thing takes off, it's like, bam, and it's gone. Okay? But not this one. This one's slow and easy, baby. It's like, slow ride, take it easy. That's what it does. Okay? It's stupidly slow. So this guy films it. Up, up, up. Painfully slow, by the way. Up, up, up. Over, over, over. Gets about right here. It's kind of in the middle of a big curve, right? And the smoke stops. Stops. You can see it kind of start sputtering. Sputters and it stops. And you can still see the craft, the rocket, okay? You can still see it shining up there as he's filming it. And here it comes right back down. It's a production. It's fake. It's like a very big helium-filled bottle rocket that puts out lots of smoke. Lots of smoke. For show. You see? For show. And the thing spit and sputtered, run out of smoke. Now, see, right before it spits and sputters, the official thing you see, it cuts right there. So you never get to see that. You just see the big plume of smoke, and the next thing you know, it shows it's in outer space. But he filmed it, and it spitted and sputtered and started heading right back down into the ocean. So he posted that on Facebook and got like 6 million views or something in a couple of hours, and they took it down and closed his site down. He worked on it for months to get it back. And finally they said, oh, well, what happened? It was hacked. So, sorry, but you lost everything, including the video. Of course, he has it on a camera. But point of the matter is he showed what really was happening, and they don't want you to see what really happened. They don't want you to see it spitting and sputtering and coming right back down into the water because, well, why would they? Then they wouldn't be able to claim that it went into outer space. It's up in outer space right now. Right up there with Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock. Wouldn't be quite as believable, would it? So, all that to say, here's something funny to say. Okay, this really happened, by the way. That was Artemis. That really happened. He got taken down. That's where rockets go. All right, so now, Elon Musk, Mr. Rocket Man, he does an interview on a podcast here, and I have the synopsis of it here. And he goes on to tell stories of what really happened. And he says he wants to do a comic strip about it because it's just so funny that people don't understand what they have to go through to put a rocket into space. Okay? And here's what he says, okay? Elon Musk reveals what happens when a rocket launch needs approval from Fish and Wildlife. According to him, Fish and Wildlife are concerned about his rockets. They're not concerned about the rockets going into outer space. You know what they're concerned about? They're concerned about when the rocket hits the water, is it going to hit a sea creature? I'm not kidding. This is not a joke. This is real, okay? Now, the obvious question would be, why would your rocket be going into the ocean to begin with? I thought it was going into outer space. Hold that thought. So, the first thing is, over there where he is shooting his rockets off, let's see, Vandenberg in California, he said that there's lots of seals over there. And Fish and Wildlife was concerned that these loud rockets would hurt the seals' ears, okay? And that it would run the seals off, and there would be less seals. So, this is not a joke. Elon Musk said, and he posted this picture, which I'm going to show you on this show. He said that SpaceX, I'm assuming, he said, Elon said, we were forced to kidnap a seal. So they had to go out and wrangle up a seal, a wild seal. So somehow they caught a seal, didn't say how he caught it. They had to catch it. He called it kidnapping. He had to kidnap a seal, okay? They had to strap it, restrain it, and strap it to a board. Okay? Then they had to put headphones onto the seal, and they had to play sonic boom sounds into its ears to see if the seal would be distressed. I'm saying this with a straight face. Now, Elon Musk says that really happened, and he's got the pictures to prove it. Let me get your picture drawn up here real quick. Okay, I've got this thing queued up, I do believe. If you're watching this on a video, Please look at this picture. Please look at it. That is a picture of a seal strapped, what apparently looks like some kind of a plastic, nylon strap, like a seatbelt type thing of a harness, with literally headphones of some type strapped, taped something to its ears. Look at the seal. I mean, there it is. Elon Musk himself posted this picture because I watched it. I didn't come up with this. It's not a fake AI. Now, it could be a fake AI picture for all I know. But that's the picture that he provided and said that really happened. Okay. There it is. I think I've got another one here. Let's see. Yeah, this is your tax dollars at work, by the way. In case you wanted to know where some of your money goes. Let's see if you can see this one. Let's try that. All right, there. Can you see that one? Can you see that one? We don't want that, but we want this. Make it bigger. There's a seal. Looks like they've got some kind of rubber pieces. They've got the headphones are made by Telephonics, apparently. The board looks, I don't know what the board is. Looks pretty old to me. I mean, I'm not, it's like, look at this picture here. The old wood, they varnished it. Somebody's made a holder for it, varnished it. It's out there in the sand. You can see sand on it and dirt on it. It looks old. They've even right here, like with the filled in the screw holes and with like gookumpucky and stained over it. I mean, looks like they took quite a bit of effort to make this board to strap a seal down onto it. So, this supposedly really happened. So, Elon says, this is an actual thing that happened. This is actually real, and I have pictures. By the way, on the seal deal, he says that the seal test was for launches out of Vandenberg, where the seal population has been rising for years, not declining, rising. Elon says, so if anything, of course, they've been shooting rockets out of there for years. So if anything, rocket booms are an aphrodisiac based on the evidence. He says because they're shooting rockets out of there all the time and the seal population's getting bigger. So how could it be hurting any seals? But nevertheless, you need to catch a seal. He said they had to do it twice. They caught 2 different seals, strapped them to that board, strapped headphones to their ears, and played rocket sounds, more or less, and to see if the seal looked distressed. Now, I don't know how seals look when they're distressed. I'm sure Elon Musk doesn't either. But he goes on to say, the amazing part is how calm the seal was. He said, because if I was a seal, I'd be like, this is the end. They're clearly going to eat me. Okay. He said, and also its seal buddies are never going to believe him that he got strapped to a board and got headphones put on his ears. He said, they did it twice. I don't think the public's quite aware of the madness that goes on. Okay. So there's the first one. Now, he says, before the seal ordeal, okay, it was sharks. Now, he didn't have to strap a shark down, but what he said is, he said one of the things that was a bit of a challenge at one point is that they, the Fish and Game, were worried about our rockets hitting a shark. Hitting a shark. Why would a rocket hit a shark? Is the shark in outer space? Or is the shark in the ocean? What do you think? I mean, it's a big ocean, right? And I'm sure the sharks are nowhere around. They're not like the dolphins that showed up when the fake Artemis landed, in the middle of nowhere. apparently these sharks are few and far between, just out in the open ocean, up by the surface where a rocket can hit it. But my question is, why are the rockets hitting the ocean to begin with? I thought they were going into outer space. And here's, the booster, the this, the that, the this. Oh, no. Didn't you know that Elon Musk is using reusable rockets that fly up and then come back down and get caught in big chopsticks? They land on pads out in the ocean. They go up and they come right back down like something on Hollywood. Don't you remember that? These things aren't landing in the ocean. They're supposedly going up into space and coming back down and landing just like they went up. Don't you remember that? This is not NASA. NASA's rockets supposedly have boosters that fall off, and that's what's falling into the ocean. And then the rest of it eventually falls into the ocean, and then it comes back down and it falls in. So it all ends up in the ocean eventually, according to them. But Musk's don't do that. Musk's are reusable. So they shouldn't be hitting the ocean to begin with, should they? Unless there's an accident. So, Musk asked for the data to calculate the odds of a rocket ship hitting a shark. He says the fish and wildlife guys refused. He said they didn't want the information getting out that they did a study on how many sharks were in the area because they didn't want shark hunters to get a hold of it. They said if shark hunters get a hold of it, they're going to sail out there and harvest the sharks. Serious. I'm dead serious, by the way. So, Elon then goes on to say, he said, there's another part of fish and wildlife that can do the analysis. And so he says, well, why don't you let them do the analysis of the probability of a rocket ship landing on a shark? And he says, well, why don't you give them the data? And he says, well, they don't trust them with the data. So they have a department in their fish and game and wildlife that can do the data, that can come up with the data, or can come up with the statistics, but they can't trust them with the data. So I guess that means they're going to give it to the shark hunters, I guess. So he says, excuse me, but aren't they literally in your department? Yeah, but we still can't trust them. That's your government for you, by the way. That's your government. That's where your tax dollars are going. This is the kind of stuff they're doing. And one more, by the way, it's not over yet. Seals could hurt this. It could depopulate the seals. It might hurt their ears. So strap headphones onto them. Sharks. How many sharks could get hit if this rocket, when it hits the ocean? We don't want it to hit a shark. Can we do a calculation on it? We can't. He says that the calculation turned out to be virtually zero chance. Now, do you think NASA's worried about it, or any of these other space agencies are worried about it? These not space agency, when they're dumping junk into the ocean, they could care less what it hits. They don't care if it hits a person. They could care less if it hits a cruise ship. They'll just make up a lie. I mean, they could care less. So the next one is, it says, then a second agency raised another concern. What's that? Well, what if your rocket inadvertently hits a whale? So they had to do another study to determine what are the chances, what are the odds that a rocket ship is going to hit the ocean and hit a whale, I guess right on its back. Bam, land on a whale. I'm serious too. So Elon goes on to say, if our rocket hits a whale, which is extremely unlikely beyond all belief, that whale has some seriously bad luck. It's the least lucky whale ever. And I would have to agree with that. If your helium-filled fake rocket shoots up and comes right back down into the ocean, which we know it does, the chance that that fake rocket is going to hit a whale or a shark is probably slim to none, would be my guess. But at least somebody is concerned about these rockets going into the ocean. So maybe they know something we don't know. Since Elon and SpaceX claim these rockets shoot up and come back down and land on dry land, on a landing pad. They're caught between two big deals that look like chopsticks, as Trump said. They're reusable. So why would you have to worry about rockets hitting the ocean and landing on sharks' backs or landing on the back of a whale? Why would you have to be concerned about that? Unless they know something we don't know, and really they're crashing into the ocean every single time, which is exactly what they're doing. So these guys that actually know a little bit, or some bigwig is like, look, we don't want to start killing animals out there because you're crashing an awful lot of rockets out there. They know it. You know it. I know it. Okay. So, Elon, of course, he's like, I don't think the public's quite aware of the madness that goes on. Well, Elon, you know, I don't know why you didn't say it any of the time in there. I don't have to worry about a rocket landing on a whale's back because my rockets don't land in the ocean. They go to outer space. I don't have to worry about my rocket ship landing on a shark unless the shark's in outer space. Unless we have a Sharknado, isn't that what they call it? Sharknado, where the sharks are getting blown all around, you know, from a tornado and blow a shark onto you and it eats you. All right. Are we blowing sharks up into outer space somehow with big storms? Maybe there's a hurricane. That's it. There was a hurricane out in the ocean and it sucked up a bunch of sharks. And the sharks are now space sharks. And so then when your rocket ship went into outer space, it accidentally hit a shark. Okay. It's ridiculous. A rocket ship hitting a shark in space or a rocket ship hitting a shark in the ocean. Your ships aren't supposed to be going to the ocean to begin with. Or are they? Or are they? Or are they really going straight to the Bermuda Triangle, just like they all look like they're going, just like everybody suspects, and just like the cartoons say they are? Maybe that's exactly where they're really going. So somebody's like, hey, when you're doing a rocket launch, you better keep some boats out of that area because we know it's going to sink in there. So keep everybody away. And let's just hope it doesn't stab right into a shark's back or a whale's back and be sticking straight down in it. And then this thing float up to shore with one of your rockets stuck in its back. And then it's going to be kind of hard to explain that your rocket's on the other side of the moon when really it's stuck in a whale's back right over here in the ocean. Or how about debris from your rocket stuck all in the back of a whale and kills it? Or the whale, you know, swims up next to a big ship and it's got a piece of your ship stuck out of its back. Well, you know, it's going to be kind of hard to claim that your ship is on its way to Mars right now when you can see part of it stuck to a whale. All right? So maybe you ought to figure that out before you do one of your launches, right? That's probably what I would think about, but I guess that's what they're doing. So yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. So, and on one more little side note there, enough about that, but speaking of Elon Musk and SpaceX, in case you haven't heard the news here, SpaceX Falcon 9 upper stage is about to slam into the moon. So, according to this, of course, I thought they flew up and landed back down, but they're claiming on this particular one here, this is a discarded piece of SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket, is on a collision course with the moon right now. Okay, it's expected to impact Wednesday morning. Let's see, today's the 4th. So Wednesday morning, August the 5th at 2:35 a.m. Okay, so according to the news article, this is a stage left over from January 5th, 2025 launch that carried 2 commercial lunar landers, Firefly, Aerospace Blue Ghost, and iSpace Resilience. Never heard of them. This piece of the shuttle, or this piece of this rocket, is roughly the size of a school bus, 40 feet long, and weighing 10,000 pounds. It's supposedly, because this is all fake, okay, this is Star Trek. According to the fake news, it's going to hit the moon at 5,400 miles per hour, or 7 times the speed of sound. Okay? This impact is going to be near a crater called Einstein Crater, according to them. Let's see. According to them, it said it should create a new crater. Now, I can't wait to hear the excuse on this one, because anybody that looks up there that's not fake will be able to see if there's a new crater or not. And obviously, there's not going to be a new crater. Okay, we know that for a fact. So they're saying this to pretend it's real, but says it should create. Then they're going to say, oh, well, it didn't. Which the crater should be 100 feet wide, it says, and several feet deep. And it should kick up a plume of lunar dust. You know, the same dust that they kicked up when the astronauts were up there playing golf and driving around a go-kart. The moon dust, also known down here as concrete dust, cement dust, because that's what it was bags of cement. Okay, fake. So it says that the impact, of course, is unintentional, because, see, they would never want to litter up the moon, right? It says somehow after deploying these landers, the upper stage was left in a high moon-crossing Earth orbit, fake. Over time, gravity influenced and solar activity gradually altered its path until it was locked into a collision course with the moon. If this sounds like Star Trek, guys, that's because it is. Okay. Let's see. SpaceX has stated that that particular rocket there has already expended all of its fuel, so it can no longer be steered. Okay, well, I didn't know you could steer things in a vacuum of space anyway, but hey, you can do anything in Cartoon Network. So, according to this, this will be only the second known accidental rocket body impact on the moon. Supposedly, a Chinese rocket hit the far side of the moon in 2022. Of course, you can't see the far side, the back side of the moon. You can't see it. So nobody can say, well, I can see the new crater. Nobody's ever seen it. Or I can see the rock. I can see the wreckage. No, you can't. It's on the dark side of the moon, boys. Sorry, the moon doesn't turn. The only way you're going to see the back side of the moon is with CGI from NASA. Fake. Now, you'll see something fake, but you won't see anything real. That's just a fact. Okay, so anyway, it says the impact and the flash dust plume will be difficult or impossible to see. Of course it will. I'm sure it'll be impossible, right? That way, because nobody's going to see it, so it's impossible. It says now you may be able to detect it, okay, or somebody could, NASA could, such as NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter. It's expected to image the new crater afterwards. So you can't see it, I can't see it, but NASA can see it because they have an orbiter orbiting the moon, if you believe that, okay? But don't worry, they'll supply a grainy picture afterwards. Like all of their fake grainy CGI pictures. Don't worry, you'll get one of those. Maybe you can even get it mailed to you if you're in the NASA fan club. I won't get one, but maybe you will. Keep it. In fact, give it a day or two, and it'll be up all over social media on the NASA fake sites, and it'll look just as fake as the rest of their fake junk that they do. You know, NASA, not a space agency, okay? That one. So, yeah, don't worry, though. They'll supply the picture. They'll supply the proof like they always do. Yeah. That'll be the day, won't it, that I start believing anything that a satanic organization who worships the devil openly, that I'm going to believe anything that they say. I don't hardly think so. Not this guy. Okay. So I'm going to get off of here. That I wanted to just lay some of that stuff out there. I thought it was very interesting, especially about the rockets hitting whales. If you can believe any of that people are actually talking about this, but all it does to me is prove that when they do shoot these pieces of junk off, they go right into the water, just like I've always said, and just like lots of other people say. Otherwise, you wouldn't have to worry about them hitting a shark or a whale or anything else. So I digress on that. Thanks for coming and listening to the show. And by the way, on the last podcast I did, I had a misspelling and I was trying to read it and I said hyperbole. And what I meant to say was hyperbole. That was the actual word, was hyperbole. And in my notes, it was misspelled and I was reading it and I was like, hyperbole. It was supposed to be hyperbole was the word, if you remember that. I was talking about Dr. Death, and his statement was, it's not hyperbole that I'm the most popular man in the world. In other words, it's not fake. And I said hyperbole, I think, but it's hyperbole, and it was misspelled. Still my fault, but anyway, didn't exactly proofread it. So, having said that, thanks for listening. Like us, follow us, share it. Check me out on TikTok. I'm on there too as Flat Earth Man. I'm sure you could find me, but check out It's Flat Bro, Truth Seekers Podcast, truthseekersradio.com, truthseekersministry.org, kennywilliamson.com. Check any of those out. I've got other things I'm working on. Trying to work on a Ruby Ridge deal, maybe a Waco deal, detailed stories, working on those, trying to get everything lined up. Anyway, have any questions, comments, concerns, give me an email, truthseekers2012@gmail.com, and you can get in touch with me on any of those websites. Thanks for listening. Get saved if you haven't already. God is real. There's spiritual warfare going on out there right now. Get saved before it's too late. Till we meet again, God bless you.